Good morning. It's Friday, December 10th, and President Biden has issued a diplomatic boycott of the 2022 Olympic Games in China. Those are the Winter Games. And what does a diplomatic boycott really mean? It's a symbolic boycott. It means that we won't send any diplomatic or official representation. It also means that because it's symbolic, it will allow American athletes to compete in those Olympic Games. So the athletes are catching a break in some way, shape, or form because they have spent years preparing for this event, and it would be a shame to cheat them of the chance to show off their skills. So I think when we do a diplomatic boycott, it is less effective than having a real 100% boycott. Now we are boycotting these games because of the ongoing genocide and crimes against humanity that Chinese government is instituting and performing in Xinjiang province. These are human rights abuses. They are basically the attacks on the Uyghurs and other Muslim communities in China. Of course, the Chinese government denies everything. I think there are some other things that have contributed to this boycott. That's the situation in Taiwan and the situation with Tibet. So I think Biden did the correct thing in issuing this boycott, but I think we could have done something a little bit stronger. And interestingly enough, Xinjiang, which is the province that is being set up as an example because of the slave labor that supposedly goes on in that region, and we are trying to protect those people, in addition to the Muslim Uyghurs. Now, Xinjiang province is the area of China and of the world where most of the materials needed to create solar panels is actually mined and produced. So it's very important to China, the Xinjiang province. And that's why they're accused of having much slave labor there, because getting those materials for the solar panels is probably not easy. And they need a lot of labor to do that. And if that labor costs them a lot of money, then of course that would not be good for their economy, perhaps. I don't know. But that's what the specialty of Xinjiang province is: solar panel material production. But it's interesting that Congress passed legislation by votes of 420 to 0, actually 428 to 0, and 427 to 1 against some Chinese activities in the province of Xinjiang. And those activities are the slave labor activities. So it's amazing in my mind that our Congress can do that when they can't work together to get stuff done in the United States. Don't you think that Congress could do a better job for us in the United States if they paid as much attention to what's going on here and came to the compromise situations and did what they should do for this country? When I look at voting at 427 to 1 and 428 to 0, but it's outside the country, it's something that really, it's a diplomatic ploy. Nothing is really happening because of those votes. But when we need action, when we need to produce something meaningful, we can't get our act together. And you know, it's really easy to pick on China these days because they have other things going on, like the disappearance of the tennis star Peng Shu, who was censured on social media after coming forward with a sexual assault allegation against a high-ranking Communist Party leader this year. But the U.S., not only the U.S., the Women's Tennis Association announced it was suspending all upcoming tournaments in China and Hong Kong. The CEO of the Tennis Association said, "I don't see how I can ask our athletes to compete in China when Peng Shu is not allowed to communicate freely and has seemingly been pressured to contradict her allegations of sexual assault." Well, give the Tennis Association a plus, a high mark for doing that, because they have put away hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars, they have just thrown into the trash can because they're canceling all their tournaments in China. Well, the Winter Games are scheduled to begin in February without any foreign spectators and with athletes and staff subject to daily testing. That's according to Reuters. And then we have Omicron. Now, the fact that he's around or she's around will cause China to have to do more to protect the athletes. And I don't think they're ready for that. I don't think they have any idea how to protect the athletes with this new version of COVID-19 lurking in the background. I know they're very concerned about that. And the leader, Zhao, who's in charge of the Olympic Games, has said it's going on anyhow, even though they are worried about Omicron. So the diplomatic portion of this thing, where Canada and Australia have issued diplomatic boycotts, and the U.S. doesn't seem to matter to them, but Omicron could be a bigger factor. I also think that Biden realizes that everybody realizes that China is trying to be the number one nation in the world. And I think he also realizes that we created this Chinese monster because we allowed our corporations to give them lots and lots of business and allowed them to build up an economy that went from poor to middle class. And the Chinese are very smart. They have lots of time. They don't have governments that change every 4 years or every 2 years. And they have a plan, a long-term plan, and we don't really have that situation in the United States because of our democracy and our division, etc. So this boycott is just a symbol. It's a symbolic boycott. I don't know if he's really intending to lay down the law, because that would be a very difficult choice to make. So only time will tell. And I'm hoping that we, the United States, get our act together so that when time comes, we still are number one in the world. But I have my doubts. So I leave you with that this morning, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.